Brilliant, thank you. And that does bring us, as Ellie said, quite nicely onto work around youth engagement. I know that our youth engagement officers have been going out and working really, really hard. And Ellie, who has within the office deals with young people, I know has seen some of the great work they're doing. And there's also been some really good work that Surrey Police are doing, the Surrey County Council, around going into schools and developing around the PSHE curriculum, and really helping what has, I think, historically been quite a fragmented approach. One issue with school inputs has always been the extent to which sort of the messaging is retained and the legacy it leaves. And I just wonder whether you feel that the new approach, working sort of much closer, and the great work that's going on with the sort of junior citizenship and all of that work is going to help in schools.
Yeah, sure. I mean, well, I'm really proud of the work that we do with policing and our relationship with children and young people across the county. I've for a long time had a phrase that the work that we do with children and young people is the only opportunity that we get to police the future. So, and I don't say that glibly. I really mean it, that if we build those relationships with children and young people across our county early, if they know what policing has to offer, then it really does help encourage good citizenship, long-term crime reduction, and the knowledge for people to be able to come to us at their time in need. Of course, there's always been a bit of a debate about how much educational input policing should do and what should be left, of course, to education professionals. We've got a really good working partnership now where we hope that we're getting that balance just right. Not just in line with our national sort of child-centered policing strategy, but also with the advice from educational professionals locally here. Whenever we do junior citizen or indeed recruitment events later in life, we always get wonderful stories from children and young people about how an early encounter with an officer in a safe environment, be it in a school or a youth group, was sometimes needed to get the advice or help them make a change in life. And it's not at all unusual for new recruits to tell stories sometimes about officers that are still serving with them, about how they came into their school and it was that one conversation that encouraged them into a career in public service. So I don't think we can ever underestimate that time spent with children and young people.
Excellent, thank you, Gavin. And just as a reminder, if you've got any questions to ask the Chief Constable around engaging with young people or around victims of crime and how we support victims of crime, then now is your time to get them in. Ellie, questions around young people?
Absolutely. From Alex on Facebook. I understand that antisocial behaviour has increased around train station car parks, though British Transport Police have provided quick responses and effective solutions. What can be done to curb ASB generally in Surrey?
Another great question. So just to clarify that point with British Transport Police, so the policing of train stations is a responsibility of British Transport Police, but of course we work very closely with them around those sort of boundary areas. I remember doing a survey together with colleagues in education about those places where children and young people didn't necessarily feel safe. So we were talking earlier on in the session about the Street Safe reporting app, where particularly women and girls might be reporting areas in the county where they didn't feel safe. When we asked children that question, one of the themes that came up was transport hubs, be that bus stations or train stations, where they didn't feel safe. And sometimes they congregate in numbers in order to get that sense of safety, and them doing that can then sometimes present to adults using it that it's antisocial behaviour. So again, officers will always use their discretion here, because a group of young people gathering together to get that sense of collective safety is not necessarily antisocial. But of course, we all understand when the line is crossed, and we will work to take sort of corrective action there. Our approach is always to try and problem solve it. So one of the things that we try to do in Surrey Police is all use the same problem solving approach, and that's to gather as much information on the problem as we can, to work with as broad a range of people involved, including, say if it was a train station, the other users of the train station, the team that are staffing and managing that train station, the young people themselves that are perhaps gathering nearby, to try and find a solution that's sustainable. Of course, when we need to, we do have a whole range of enforcement powers, be it restriction orders for public spaces, be it behaviour orders against individuals involved. So there's a whole range of options available to us. But we'll always try and get together with local community, other users of that space, children and young people themselves, and try and navigate a route through that, so we don't have to use those enforcement powers and keep coming back to the same problem.
Okay, thank you. One more question. I think you have, Ellie, on youth.
Yeah, one from Ian in Reigate. Ian's concerned that from the comms he sees, the interaction for young people seems to be a message of just don't go to the park. He says, I hope it's more than that. Would things like bikeability courses and encouraging active travel for young people help? So I don't know if we want to talk a bit about sort of joined up working that happens.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and just on that comment about don't go to the park, I think that perhaps was a misunderstanding. So if we're talking about Reigate Priory Park, for example, we did have a series of reports about particularly problematic behaviour later into the evening, with groups of perhaps older children, teenagers, young adults, and it was the sort of activity around that was causing local residents and other park users some problems. So the team, I know, have been working hard on that with Reigate and Banstead Borough Council too, and I know that some CCTV was maintained in that location for that, but that is definitely not a generic message about don't go to the parks. We should all be going to the parks to get some good fresh air and green space. And of course reporting in concerns to us and local authorities if you feel that that's not the case. And sorry, Ellie, the second part of the question was
just about sort of joined up work that happens across the county. Just he's concerned that there's not much going on, and would schemes like bikeability and encouraging active travel help?
Yeah, I mean, so I know that one of our recently retired police colleagues has gone in exactly into volunteering into doing cycling proficiency schemes with children and young people. Of course, as they get older and want to do the bike schemes, absolutely. So, if any of these schemes are a means for us to sort of help reduce antisocial behaviour, and we can do it not just with our full-time paid workforce, but with our fantastic range of volunteers as well. And we have a whole range of volunteering opportunities, be it in the special constabulary where you get the powers of a police officer, or through our police staff volunteers, for which there are many different roles. Then we're always open to ideas on that. So if the questioner's got thoughts about something there for their particular area, then please do get in touch with a little bit more detail.
And probably a great time to plug the cadets.
Great time to plug the cadets as well. So we have a wonderful cadet scheme for the sort of early teenage years, and we often see those cadets go on to become cadet leaders as well, and some of them come in to join policing and other public services. And of course, our fire service colleagues got a fantastic cadet scheme too. So lots of opportunities for children and young people.
Brilliant. Okay, and we're going to move on to the last area of focus, which is around how we support victims of crime. So this is